Another important aspect of stress is the difference between lexical stress and emphatic stress. As it is clear from the name that the lexical stress is applied at lexeme level, right, at word level. And then the emphatic stress is the stress which is used for emphasis. And we are using this stress most of the time at sentence level, right? We can also apply this at phrase level, but that's really important at sentence level, right? So two types of stress, lexical and emphatic. Syllabic stress, when a syllable within a word is stress, that is recognizable when you go through the stress-unstress pattern. In English is a very good example of looking at the stress pattern. Then it's phonemic level stress. And when I'm using the term phonemic, because this change the meaning, right? And it is actually creating meaning distinction, right? And also the category is changed. The lexical stress also changed the grammatical category of words, right? Then the idea is the primary and secondary level stresses and also the tertiary. Primary, when one syllable is to be stressed primarily, only one within a word. Secondary, we can have more than one. And the tertiary, if the word is exceptionally long, then the tertiary stresses are also important in order to make appropriate, pronunciation, right? The word category distinction is the part of lexical stress, right? Because the lexical stress has the ability to change the category of different words, right? Like there would be noun, but just the displacement of the stress, the word would become a verb, right? Most of the time, adjectives and nouns, they have similar forms of stresses in English, right? Then the emphatic stress is basically in order to highlight something in a sentence and, like which word is to be highlighted in a sentence, right? And or which phrase is to be highlighted within a sentence. So for that, we also need to know what is emphatic stress. Stress at sentence level is emphatic, right? This means that the function of stress is just to create emphasis, just to make something important, right? And that emphasis is on a specific word. And remember that the emphasis is most of the time given to content words. Content words, adjectives, nouns, adverbs, right? These are basically the content words. And the function words, like the pronoun, helping verbs, or those points like which are used only to show the grammatical function, right? Those words like that or this or articles like the, and, they do not always carry the stress, the emphatic stress. They are, emphasized. They are stressed only when they are required to be stressed in a very specific context, right? So that's the difference between the content word stresses and then the the function word stresses. Like for example, in a sentence, it was very boring, right? So the very is emphasized here, but that's a typical context because you want to show the degree of boring there, and your emphasis is not on the boring, but your emphasis is on the degree of boring. That was really boring, right? So that's something to be kept in mind. And the emphatic stress, the sentence level stress, is important in order to maintain the rhythmic pattern, the rhythm in the sentence, because language is rhythmic and we need to maintain it as rhythm. And that's something which we would discuss in our session on intonation, that how the sentence level stressing is important for creating rhythm in the language. Emphatic stress, and I'm giving you an example of one sentence with different emphasis in that sentence alternatively. Like the sentence is, did you drive to Peshawar last weekend? You see, the emphasis is on you. Did you drive to Peshawar last weekend? And the second would be, did you drive to Peshawar last weekend? You see, in the second sentence, it is the emphasis which is on the mode of driving, right? So the drive was the focus of the sentence. And then there is one more example. Did you drive to Peshawar last weekend? Right? You see? So maybe that you knew something previously, but the new information is just the name of the city, Peshawar, right? So did you drive to Peshawar last weekend? You see the emphasis at sentence level. And then the last example is, did you drive to Peshawar last weekend? So the focus is on the last. So you see, this is called emphatic stress. And the prominence to a specific word, to a specific phrase at sentence level is something which is called emphatic stress. And the function is that you want to create something important. You want to emphasize on one typical part of the information conveyed through the sentence. And remember that it's always the new information, the newer part of the sentence which is emphasized by the speaker.